What's going on, YouTube? Thank you guys for tuning back in. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Here I got you guys another video for our K24 build. On our previous episode, we determined a target bore size based on our piston size and the piston wall clearance that we were aiming for. And we're finally complete on the honing process. I think we were able to achieve some pretty good clearances for our turbo engine. So we're gonna go ahead and call that good. Moving on, here I got my trusty micrometer. We got our main bearings, ACL raised bearings, and we got our rod bearings. We're gonna go ahead before we start measuring stuff, and we're gonna go clean the main journals on the block along with cleaning the main journals on the bed plate. Following that, we're gonna go ahead and measure our journals on the crankshaft. Make sure they are within spec. There's no too much variances between the measurements, and let's get it done. So let's go ahead and clean on journals. Just gonna be using a little bit of brake cleaner, nothing crazy. So our block is ready to receive our bearings. Now we're gonna move to the bed plate and clean that up. So just in case you were wondering, I went ahead and washed the block thoroughly after honing, just making sure I remove all the residue left over from the honing process. So before I go ahead and put the bearings down in the block and the main girdle, I'm gonna go ahead and start measuring the journals on the crank and see what we get. So I just finished measuring the journals, all 5 of them, and this is the numbers I got. Let me know if you get anything different. The next step we're gonna install the bearings on the block and also on the main girdle. Let's see, but before we put them on the block, I'm gonna give them a little wipe with brake cleaner. Make sure there's no oil, any debris, any residue on them. So the bearings that have the holes in them and are slotted, they are the ones that go in the block. As you can see the groove in the middle. So after looking closely at the bearings, I was a little confused why they were looking like that. To be honest, this is my first experience working with ACL bearings, and I guess this is normal. I did some research and I found a couple pictures that match what I'm seeing right now, and so I guess that is the way they look out of the factory due to their process they use to heat treat them and etc. So I guess they might look funny, but they are good. I don't know, what do you guys think? If you had the same experience, or if you can see something different that I'm not seeing, please go ahead and comment below. So let's go ahead and install this bad boys. now that we got the bearings all installed, we're gonna go ahead and put the bed plate down and torque it down to 22 foot-pounds plus 56 degrees. So let's go ahead and knock that out. So I got my trusty Harbor Freight torque wrench, and we're gonna dial it in to 22 foot-pounds. So now that we got the bolts down to torque to the specified 22 foot-pounds, we're gonna go ahead and use this angle gauge and give it another, the prescribed 56 degrees. And yes, it's definitely coming out and it's getting plugged up. So I was working on trying to set the dial bore gauge on with the combination of anvils and shims that this kit specifically comes with. The closest I can get is a 2.15, which it gives us room for error. Right now we're not going to use the dial bore gauge. We're just going to go down to a T gauge and the mic and see how accurate. Let's see how those measurements go. I'm gonna go ahead and measure the journal first. We zero it out. So now it's set up to where when we get our T gauge measurement and we measure it, it's gonna read the difference between the two, which is gonna be our bearing clearance. So let's see how that goes. So after trying a couple times with the T gauge and the mic, I keep getting consistent high numbers. So I think for now, till I get another set of standards so I can mix and match between the standards and the extra clearance so we can achieve our target. I'm definitely not feeling comfortable with a big clearance number. At this clearance level, I believe I will experience some low oil pressure at idle. It would allow for more play and more movement in the crankshaft. We definitely don't want that. So, well, we're gonna go order a couple things and we'll be right back. So fast forward a couple of days, some late night shopping, and here they are, standard bearings. So since I was having problem with just the HX bearings having too much clearance, I went ahead and ordered a set of standards for the rods, and also order a set of standards for the main. So now we have HX and standard sets that we're gonna combine in order to achieve our clearances. In addition to that, we got some new truss washers. So now that we got our sets that we're gonna combine, we're gonna go ahead and disassemble our main girdle. I had a question in regards to which half goes where, and after doing a little bit of research, I found out that the lower half faces the most load, the most stress. So it is recommended to put the standard size bearings on the main girdle. Extra clearance bearings, we're gonna keep them in the upper half. So we're gonna go ahead and put our standard size bearings, just the half, on the bottom side of the engine, aka the main girdle, or bed plate, or whatever you want to call it. So now that I got the standard halves installed on the bed plate, we're gonna go ahead and check our measurements, but this time we're gonna be using some Plastigauge. So now that we got the crank, we got the Plastigauge in place, we got the bed plate down, we're gonna go ahead and torque it down to 22 foot-pounds plus 56 degrees, and let's get it. Not the best, not the most accurate, but this is what we got going on, so we're gonna roll with it for now. So now all we gotta do is break those bolts down and reverse steps, take everything apart, and we're gonna go ahead and measure our Plastigauge and see what our clearances are now. Let's see what kind of measurement we get. I think probably the camera can't really focus on it too much, but I'm reading about a 0.002 or about 20 thousandths, if I'm correct. They look about even on all the journals. So if we go ahead and look through the scale, 1.5, it's a little too big. So about 20 thousandths. So we got about 20 thousandths, if I'm reading this correctly. So I think we're gonna wrap that up right there. I think 20 thousandths will be a good clearance. I mean, again, Plastigauge is ballpark, so it could be a little more than that, but I think it should work. So with that being said, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this video. We got about 20 thousandths clearance for the main bearings. Next video, we're gonna be taking out our Speed Factory rods, and then we're gonna do maybe a combination of bearings, or I think I'm gonna start with the standards first and see how that goes. In the meantime, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.